Welcome back to another episode of the Millennial Matriarch. I'm your host, Alexis, and I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Ashlie. She is not wearing a hat today. You can say hi, Ashlie.
Hi, everybody.
So we are actually so excited about this week's episode because we had the honor and the pleasure of interviewing our first real guest. And this is somebody who, I don't want to say she's special to me because until I met her, I didn't actually know her, but I have followed her for 4+ years. And I refer to her as my internet big sister. And in the episode, without giving it away, she talks about glimmers. And I couldn't help but remember that when I was in high school, I read a book called Warriors Don't Cry, and it was required reading. And it was about the Little Rock Nine. So if you don't know who the Little Rock Nine are or what that means, there were 9 Black teenagers who in 1957 became the first to integrate Little Rock Central High School in Arkansas. So this was following the Brown versus Board of Education Supreme Court ruling that basically said, you know what, segregation ain't cool. So it was the first integrated school in America. Now, I read this book when I was in high school, and it sat with me. I don't know why. I can't tell you what about it, but it's a book that I kept and I still have on the bookshelf at my parents' house. And this week, we had the honor and the pleasure and the privilege of sitting down with MacKenzie Green, who is the daughter of Ernest Green, who was one of those 9 teenagers. And I'm not going to speak for Ashlie. I'm going to let her speak for herself. But the episode is so incredible, and I hope everybody enjoys it. Ashlie, I know you and I have talked. What were your thoughts?
I have goosebumps, like, as you're saying those lines, because it's just dawning on me, like, how incredible and yeah, privileged we were to have her on the pod. And I mean, listen, guys, I'm a white woman. You're not going to hear me a ton in this episode, and most of that is because I was just in awe, sort of ping-ponging back and forth, listening to MacKenzie and Alexis talk about their experiences, listening to MacKenzie talk about what it's like to be the daughter of someone who, as iconic as Ernest Green is, and through her lens, what life has been like for her. And I got an education throughout, which was a bonus. But it was just so great to sort of hear from her perspective, how this has been. And we also, gabbed about other things, and we yapped, and we're going to have her back because she is a powerhouse woman and entrepreneur, and she is fantastic on any channel you find her on.
She's on all the channels.
Yeah, I've been hooked ever since Alexis brought her up. And yeah, I'm so grateful that she took the time to come on our little pod, and bring so much amazingness to it. And I think you all are going to really enjoy it, and I'm excited to hear your feedback.
And before we officially turn it over to the interview, if you recognize the name MacKenzie Green, not just because her father is Ernest Green, she is also a co-host on the Taylor Strecker Show. She is a Hey Girl Heyer. She's been on many podcasts. She's all over, the Instagram. Follow her on Instagram and TikTok. I do have to say, she does daily affirmations, and they just love that. They make my soul happy. And I think in today's world, we could all use a little bit more of that. So I hope you all take away as much as Ashlie and I did from this episode. And I'm excited for you all to listen. I am so excited because today we are joined with our first real guest, because Ashlie was my fake first guest because I knew she never left. She never left, right. But we are joined today with MacKenzie Green. I love to call her my internet big sister. I am resisting so hard to not say hey girl, hey to you right now, but I guess I said it. MacKenzie Green, welcome to the Millennial Matriarch podcast. And what does your castle look like?
Man, I was about to start with a hello, hello, hello. But I would say my castle is definitely the house from Father of the Bride.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yep. And I would say everything is the same inside. It's hardcore Nancy Meyers from top to bottom. I would just make the kitchen more like the something's gotta give kitchen. I would
Ooh.
make the bedroom a little bit more Ralph Lauren dark, and I would expand the study to have a full library in it. And yeah, I have staff there so that I can outsource the things I don't want to do because I hate laundry and I hate dishes. And I am able to buy back my time and be with my family. I have a little game room set. Like we have a permanent table set up in the living room where we can play Monopoly and board games and all the things. And yeah, that's what my castle is.
Are you like are you my interior design twin flame? Holy shit.
Yeah.
I take my answer
Yeah.
back. I take it back. I insert Mackenzie's yes, yes, yes.
We love that castle.
I frequently am like, all things Nancy Meyers just delight me. I'm like a home that feels lived in and loved.
Well, especially this time of year. I mean, Ashley, well, Ashley is not on the East Coast anymore. I got to stop lumping her into that, but I'm
No.
in Boston.
Sorry.
Okay.
So it is like actually it's winter in Boston today. It was 19 degrees. I wore my big puffy coat. We're there. But when it's fall, when it's cozy season, it's like the Nancy Meyers just it really touches me. And now I'm like RIP Diane Keaton. I got to stop. I got to stop.
I know.
Literally, I turned to my family this weekend and I was like, watching the family stone at Christmas will never be the same, and, like, I
Mm.
don't know what's gonna come up for me, but it's
Yeah.
gonna be difficult this year because what a great film. Is that also Nancy Meyers?
No, but it's just like the same vibe.
Yeah.
It's like that vibe. Yeah, Meryl Streep falls into that category too,
Yeah.
in a similar way. It's that is it Coastal Grandmother?
It is like people no, but people called it like because there was Grand Millennial, then there was like Coastal. I really my favorite thing, and maybe this because I work in social, I loved at one point I saw a lot of black women like reclaiming coastal grandma because they were like, that doesn't match what I want. And they were calling it like Southern coastal grandma, and they were because you know how people do those aesthetic
Yeah.
mood boards, and they
Yeah.
were showing it through that lens of like, because I do think about this where I'm like, yeah, it's the Nancy Meyers house, but, like, I want the porch that I can go outside and clean my greens out there in a big pot, where, like, if people wanna find me, I'm sitting on the stoop of, this beautiful place, this palatial backyard, snapping green beans for dinner rather than like, to me, it's like, it's taking it one step further and then just adding a little spice to it.
So geographically, where is this castle?
Ooh, I mean, geographically, I would love for it to be in Asheville, North Carolina. I love Asheville.
I did not see that coming.
Yeah, or Savannah, Georgia,
I
because
like Savannah. I choose Savannah for you.
but actually Asheville is stunning. I tell people all the time it is the most amazing little blue dot in the middle of North Carolina. Like, it is one of the first cities that tried to pass reparations. I think they did pass it. Like, it is a town. My
Is that why
dad
you're going?
well, no, it's also yeah, I know, I wish. But it's funny because my dad said it best. He was like, "This is a town filled with all the hippies who,
Mm,
wanted some place to come." Because he used to joke about that when we go to San Francisco. He was like, "Oh, this place is filled. This is why it's all artisanal and co-ops and all
yes.
this stuff." And weirdly, I think they've all moved to North Carolina. I think they're all
Okay.
sitting in Asheville because you go and it's a beautiful small library. There's these really cool concept restaurants where it's like there was like an Indian restaurant there at one point called Chi-Yates or something where it was like taking street food and modern stuff. It's just such a cool spot. I cannot recommend it enough to people. It is like one of my favorite places on the planet.
Alexis? Girl trip?
I'm down. I'm so down.
I get very Morgan Wallen when I think about Asheville. I'm like, get me to God's country immediately. And it's like,
So, and this is why I said I don't actually know you because now I'm like Morgan Wallen.
oh no, I can't stand that man. I hate him. What are you talking about? No. No, don't get it twisted.
I was like, wait
No,
a minute.
you've heard me enough on Taylor's show. I love co-opting things that don't belong to me in a way that frustrates the other person. Like, I have 3 sweatsuits right now that are camo, and I think it's
Oh
hilarious.
my gosh, I love it. Well, I do have to say I make this joke that I'm not joking. So, for those of you who are not watching and if you're listening, MacKenzie and I are black. Ashlie is white. So that is important for what I'm
Yes.
about to say.
Mm-hmm.
And I, last year, one of my best friends has a house up in Bath, New Hampshire, which, if you're not familiar, is the literal middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Town is 30 minutes away. I don't do well in places like that. We joke that I'm like Ariel from The Little Mermaid. It's like I need to be where the people are.
Yep.
So my husband and I, so my husband is white. So I want to say that. So my husband and I are driving up there and I'm hyperventilating. I'm like, there's a lot of trees. They're getting closer. There's dirt roads. And at this Friendsgiving, there was probably like 10-ish of us. 3 of us are black. And I looked around and I said, we cannot have an unaccompanied black in these parts.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
go to my husband. I go, Biggie, you're on me duty. I go, somebody has got to have, our other friend, Black David. Black David needs somebody. Black David wound up going to the bathroom for a little too long, and I was terrified. And then our other friend is half black, half Japanese. I was like, we cannot be alone
Yeah.
up here. So now you can see why that really scared
Yeah.
me.
No, I see why. It's funny. It's very silly. Things that you're like, hey, I'm just gonna give you a heads up. I like this thing. Yeah, I mean, you again. Alexis knows this because she listens to the show. Like, I have waxed poetic on Taylor's show for a very long time. That it's like, at the end of the day, I got Southern roots. Like,
Yeah, in your
I
soul.
in my soul, I am such a good Christian bitch on the inside of my body. Like, full on, like, I am filled with the Lord's love, kind of like woman. Like, it's very the hunting wives. Like, I would like, because it's like, because at the end of the day, I'm a former debutante. I've been a pageant girl. Like, everything.
Miss South.
Yes, if I introduce myself the wrong way, people are like, okay, so you must be part of that 2%. And I'm like, no,
Yeah,
part of the
I was like,
98%. No,
yeah,
not that.
run.
But it's this really funny thing where it is like everything about me is that thing, and then I'm kind of like, oh, but don't get it twisted. I have to enjoy all of it as a black woman. And so I think I made the joke on Taylor Strecker's show that I was like, thank God Beyonce came out with the country album, because I have
Thank
been
God.
wanting to go see country music live for so long, and I also don't want to get hate crimed. And so
Well, see, that's why we're going to have Ashlie. That's why we bring Ashlie, because we can go. Ashlie will be our designated white.
Yes.
Ashlie is strong, so she can protect us.
Don't fuck with me. Don't fuck with my friend.
Funny you say that. In a very honest thing, like many, many years ago, one of the women in my Links chapter at the time in DC, she also was like, at my core, I'm really just a Southern girl. And she had a big, mind you, this is like big 3 law firm woman who's conquered all this stuff, done all these things, an incredible philanthropist, all this stuff. And she talked about going on a business trip to Nashville. Now she asked one of her kind of more junior colleagues, she was like, will you take me to the bars? Because like, I've always wanted, because she was like, I've always wanted to hear this music live, and I've always wanted to experience like Broadway in Nashville, like to fully immerse myself. And it was
It
just a
is
funny
cool.
moment, but it was a funny moment of like her having to teach this like junior law associate like massage noir in real time, because he was like, oh, this is so awesome. Like, but you want me to go with you? And like, is this appropriate? And she was like, this has nothing to do with appropriate. I'm not trying to hit on you. Like, literally.
You're like, please.
Yeah, I would
Please.
feel more safe than just going by myself, as opposed to like
Totally.
taking you with me. So like, so what you're saying, I'm like, oh yeah, no, that is a thing.
Well, I think that's honestly a perfect transition, and that was not planned at all.
There you go.
So one of the reasons I, asked MacKenzie to come on is, if you know me, you know that I come from a family that is very political. My dad, for my entire life until 3 years ago, like 3 years ago, worked in politics. He was the chief of staff to our assemblywoman. He worked on Cory Booker's campaign. He worked on Obama's campaign. My grandfather, unfortunately, worked with Clarence Thomas. And, that comes with a lot of pressure. My dad is now a priest. And I always say I'm really glad that he made that decision once I was out of the house, because I
There
was
you go.
not. I am everything that, like, when they tell you that, like, the priest's daughter goes wild, like, I was just already wild. He's the one that changed. So I'm really really thankful that it happened in that order. But, MacKenzie, you know who your father is. For those of you who don't know, Mackenzie's father is Ernest Green, one of the Little Rock Nine. And, one thing that I've always, always wanted to talk to you about, because I have followed you for a very long time, is what's it like to be the president's daughter? I don't even know how you start to answer that question.
Yeah, that's a hard one. Yeah, it's hard because it's all I know. So it's
Right.
not like being Ernest Green's daughter is strange to me. I think I there are a couple things that come with it. One, and I think it's more in recent times, my existence is inconvenient to a narrative that does not fit our current climate. So if
Totally.
you are convincing yourself all this stuff happened eons ago. Why are these people still complaining about all this? This happened days, decades ago. It didn't. Like, I love to contextualize history for people in a very sobering way, which is I used to, and it's still the same thing. I'm like, I'll ask somebody, I'm like, do you know your great grandparents? And sometimes people are like, yeah, I know my Mima and Papa. I'm like, great. So my Mima and Papa were born slaves.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, so Ernest Green Sr. was the first person in his family born free.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Not my great grandfather.
Not your actual, yeah.
My actual grandfather was the first person in his family born free.
Yeah.
So that is just the first piece of sitting with. That it's like
Right.
that all this and again, these are going to sound like name drops, but they're not because these are the people in my life.
This is your life. This is your
This
life.
is my life. So
Don't apologize.
Andy Young's granddaughter and I, Ambassador Andy Young, for people who don't know, Andy Young was one of the close advisors to Dr. King. Andy Young's granddaughter and I, growing up at the same time, going to the same schools, same places. And Taylor used to say to me all the time, because her name was also Taylor, she used to be like, our existence is inconvenient to a lot of people. We become the door into Oz. All of that stuff is long ago and it's in black and white. And then you meet the two of us and everything becomes Technicolor. The timeline condenses so fast you can't even catch your footing. Like I remember being in business school. This was around the 2016 election, when Michelle Obama said that thing about, I'm the descendant of the people who built the White House. First of all, I remember a classmate was like, well, actually, slaves did not build the White House. I said, who built it? Connor?
You didn't.
Habitat for Humanity? Do you think they got paid? What are we doing? And I remember and he was like, well, I don't even know why she's bringing it up. And that's when the first time I ever said, my grandfather was the first person in his family born free. And he was like, what do you mean? And I said, free from enslavement. He was the first person born free from bondage. And he was like, no, you mean like your great grandparents? No. My great grandparents were born slaves.
This guy's driving me crazy.
Yeah. And I always say, like, yes.
We don't get it.
There are two camp, and that's one camp, is where my existence is inconvenient. Actually, lied. There's three camps. Then there's the other one, where it is the most unbelievable thing you could say out loud to someone that they can't even wrap their mind around what you're saying. So you're like, so you're sitting, somebody's like, hey, that's a funny picture hanging in your dorm room. And you're like, oh, yeah, not even thinking before you have a chance to mask. You're like, oh, yeah, that's the print of my dad's stamp. So do you guys want to get Papa John's? Wait. Go back. What do you say?
Yeah.
What did you just say? Oh, so that piece of art, it's based off of my. So there's a stamp. My dad got a stamp. But why does your dad have a stamp? Okay, and one of my best friends calls it the reveal. My best friend Sarah Fisher calls it the reveal. She's like, there is a moment where Prince Akeem will finally turn to you. And she's a teeny tiny white girl from Central Florida. She'll be like, there's a moment. I'm doing her voice. And if she ever hears this, she's gonna be like, I don't talk like that. I'm like, you do. There's a moment where it's like coming to America. She turns to you and she tells you she's really a princess. And you got to decide, do you want to be friends with a princess who at some point is going to have to go back to Zamunda and rule and do all that stuff? And you just going to have to be completely normal and treat her like your friend, while also dealing with the fact that people are like bowing and scraping and throwing roses.
Right.
Or you get super overwhelmed and you just never talk to her again. And I've had that where I remember sitting with like a group. Again, this is me showing the range of it, because I'm sure people are like, you drugged that white man in the first story. I will then say it was a group of black guys in a black frat. We were sitting together one day and I slipped up. I had been holding it in,
No. Oh,
and
no,
I
not the slip up.
I took my then roommate, now best friend, Sarah Fisher. I have to call her by her full name or else it feels very
Well,
strange.
she's okay with that. That's okay.
Yeah. I mean, she's used to it at this point. She's married. She also has a different name. So now I can do it and people
Oh, now
can't
you
find her.
can do it. Now it's
Yeah.
her cover.
Yeah. So I'm talking to Fish and I say, "Hey, do you want to we have some family coming in town for a thing. Do you want to come with me to it? It won't be too long. I'm sorry, but like they're here and they like bought me tickets to this thing and they want me to come." And she's like, "Oh, okay." And she comes out in which I said, "Oh, no, 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 you should change. You should wear something a little
Oh,
nicer."
you were your mother, not that you should change.
Well, here's the thing. She was in comfortable clothes to meet a family friend for tickets to a thing. So I was like, "No, no, no, you should change real quick."
You,
And she
this
was
is
like,
not that
"Oh,
kind of family friend.
yeah." And so well, no, I was like, "It's family, but like it's a thing. It's at somebody's
Yeah.
house. It's kind of fancy." And she was like, what are you talking about?" And so I said, "Oh, don't worry. I got the GPS. We'll get in my car. We'll take it." So we get there. We pull up to a house. There's a Maybach in the front yard. She's like, "Where are we?" So I'm like, I'm kind of like, "Oh, yeah, yeah." So she's like, "What's her Maybach?" And then there's guys in black suits outside of the house. And she's kind of like, what the hell is going on? We get inside and she's kind of like, I'm like, "Do you want to wait in this line with me for this thing?" And she's like, "No, because there's a long line. She can't see what it's going to." And I'm like, but she knows we're in somebody's house. And so I'm like, "Okay, I have to wait in this line. I have to say hi to my auntie and uncle." Because thank God to Zora and Mom Donnie, who's introduced people to the concept of some of us call family friends auntie and uncle.
That wasn't weird to me. When you brought that up, I was like, my uncle Steve is
Thank you.
not my Uncle Steve, but he's my
Listen,
Uncle Steve.
let me tell you, I was shocked when people were like, "He's a liar. That's not his aunt." I said, "So what are y'all calling older people? You just out here just saying their government name?"
Nope, I did that once to my old voice teacher who was an older Black woman, and I
Yeah.
called her by her first name, and let me tell you, she told my mom, and the look my mom gave me, I said, "That's what everybody else calls her." My mom goes, "Not you."
Yeah, she was like, "Oh, so your child has no home training." So I turned to Fish and I'm like, "Hey, I just got to go talk to him." Now, mind you, all Fish sees is this long line, and I'm like, "Well, I got to get in this line. I got to talk to my auntie and uncle, but I'll meet you out in the backyard." She's texting me going, "Why am I looking at Timberland in the backyard?" I said, "Oh," I'm texting her back on my little sidekick. I said, "Oh, because we're at Timberland's house." She's like, "MacKenzie, I don't understand what's happening right now." So then she texts me again. She texts me because mind you, people have to understand I am old enough that we didn't have camera phones forever. So she
Right.
so she texts me then and she goes, "Why is Star Jones here?" I said, "Oh, because she's a big donor for the campaign." She said, "MacKenzie,
What campaign?
what the hell are we at?"
You didn't warn her before
No,
you
so
just brought her there?
I said, hold on, I'm almost done. I'm almost done talking to them. They're being embarrassing. I'll be right out in a second. Now, mind you, for the audience, Alexis knows where this is going. This is a fundraiser for Secretary Clinton running for
Okay.
office.
I can't believe you didn't give her a heads up.
No, because I was like, I don't have to give her a heads up. That's so
Sink
stupid.
or
These people-
swim.
Yeah, I said, well, it wasn't even sink or swim. I was like, these people are so embarrassing. What am I going to tell her? Like, this is so embarrassing. They're so embarrassing and they're so lame and they're so old. Like, ugh, we could be out right now in Miami. So what Fish didn't see is I get to the front of the line. All these donors are like mean mugging me because people have to understand these kind of events are hundreds of thousands of dollars to attend. And here I am, just a college kid in line. This woman kind of like pushed in front of me, like, "Sweetheart, I'm joining my husband." I get closer. I hear, "Oh my God." And it's, the Clintons being like, "Come here. Oh my God, the baby." And they're smushing
Wow.
my face. And people are kind of like, "Who the hell is this?" And then they're like, "Did you come by yourself?" And I'm like, "No, I brought my roommate with me." And then, of course, Bill's like, "I've been friends with my roommate for quite some time. He's
That's
the
an
greatest."
excellent Bill impression.
Yeah.
I got to give
He's
you
like,
credit.
"I've been friends with some of my roommates since for as long as I can remember, MacKenzie. Where is she? We want to meet her." I'm like, "Well, she's outside." "Well, why did you ever get in line?" "I don't know." "For what? To talk to you two?"
I feel
So
bad for
yeah.
her.
So I come outside, I tell Fish, because now Fish is putting it together. I guess she talked to somebody. She's like, "MacKenzie, we are at Secretary Clinton's fundraiser." And I'm like, "Yeah, Fish, I know." And so she's really, really short. So she's like, "I got to get to the front of the stage so I can get a picture to send my mom." She doesn't know. These two dumb cums come out and they go, "Is this her? Is this her? Is that the room?" So in her pictures, they're still on Facebook, you see Secretary Clinton like staring directly at her, being like, "Hi." And Fish is so in shock that she's just like, and so then that was the start of the reveal. Is she's like,
Yeah.
who are you? Who
Who
have I
are
been
you?
roommates with for this last month? Who is this person I've been getting Papa John's with at like, who the hell are
Are
you?
you?
This is more President's Daughter than I thought. Like the reveal of that. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, it was very like, well, I'm Mia Amelia Thermopolis, Queen of Genovia. I should have told you. And for her, it was kind of, and so back to the frat boys, we're sitting together, and I was like, yeah, well, when Fish and I was like, yeah, I'm so, because mind you, Obama wins, all this stuff. I was like, yeah, I'm so excited Obama won. I was like, of course, I would have loved to have, like, taken y'all to the White House if Clinton had won. And they're like, why would you have taken us to the White House? And I'm like, oh, I've never told you guys. Now, mind you, Black frat, they feel incredibly connected to and aware of Black history.
Yes, yeah.
And up to this point, as far as they're concerned, I'm an Oreo. I talk like a white girl. I act like a white, like, as far as they're concerned, it's like, we are down with the culture. MacKenzie, though, we don't
I
know
feel
what to do
that.
about her. Yeah. And so
Yeah.
I'd always just kind of sit there like, and then they would clown on me and be like, at the end of the day, if there's one thing MacKenzie would want to do, is not be a Black girl. And I'm like, okay, sure.
You're like,
sure.
whatever.
All right, cool. When I had to finally say it to them, I remember one of the guys got up and he said, this is too much. I can't take this. And left the room.
What do you mean this is too much?
Because he felt like an idiot, or it just was so much to absorb.
I think they felt like really stupid that they had been explaining Black culture to me up to this point. And what people have to understand is at the end of the day, I'm a suburban Black girl. So there was stuff they were saying that I was like, really?
No
Those are all
idea.
the
Yeah, very
I've
different.
never heard of this gentleman. Biggie Smalls, you say? Christopher Wallace? Huh. And how long was he around? Excellent. I have never heard of him. And I'm like, have you all listened to perhaps maybe a similar and well done album? It is Oops, I Did It Again by a Britney Spears. And they're they're like, where are you from? And all this stuff. So when I had to say that, they were pissed. They felt like I had intentionally been deceiving them. That I don't know. I guess they thought there was some like Children of Civil Rights Icons group chat I was on where I was like laughing at them regularly or something. And like that's another camp is almost like
it is
an
the blackness
anger
scale.
Yeah, it's like it's an anger. And then the other part I find within that is like the invalidating part. And this is more from other Black folks. So when I say my dad is Ernest Green, a lot of Black people will hit you with, well, my mom was the first Big Ten Black cheerleader. And I'm like, okay, so we're not talking
This is
about,
not the
you
same.
understand
This
we're
is
not,
not this is
like,
not
and
the same.
and you're trying not to be rude because again, to your thing of being the president's daughter, you're like, oh, I also have experience in politics. And people are like, my dad is a local alderman. And you're like,
And I'm like, no.
and I'm always like, yeah. Or even Alexis knows this of my mom. My mom is a former couture fit model. So you're sitting with girls who are like, my mom was Miss Minnesota County, Small Kalachi, Lake River, 87. And I'm like,
Also not the same.
Yeah. And I'm like, and they're like, so what did your mom model for? Was it, I know she's from Indiana. Was it like the local, like Sears? And I'm like,
no.
Yeah, if your Sears is in Paris and it's Rue de Chambon number 5. So yeah, your mom, my mom's Karl Lagerfeld and local pageant director, same people. Totally agree.
You're trying to like, I imagine, correct me if I'm wrong, you're trying to exhibit like some level of like humility in all of this and wanting to let people like share and speak, but it's like, I've just shared this with you and now you're sort of like, what are you, one-upping me? Like, I don't even know how to have this conversation.
It is,
and not
it's very much
not humble.
It's that Kristen Wiig character. You say it and then people are like, so your dad integrated Central? My dad built Central. And you're like, okay, well that's wrong.
You're like, that's also kind of offensive in this context.
And then weirdly, the third camp is almost this like this disbelief and improbability that this is real. So like within this reveal camp, you either get Sarah Fisher, who's like, well, isn't that, I love that. That's fantastic.
Right. Yeah.
Or you get the group of frat boys who are like, I'm going to fist fight you for not telling me. And you're like, well, that is a strong emotional response. And then the last grouping is this like, no, 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 no.
Let me guess. They start asking you, like, questions like, "Well, what
Yes.
year did blah, blah, blah?" And, "Well, when did you find out blah, blah, blah?"
I'm a sophomore in high school. We have weird dude that teaches history. Just the weirdest man ever. Like the kind of high school history teacher that we'll probably talk about for ages. He always had one drippy eye. He kind of knew what
Yeah.
was going on. Yeah, it's the kind of teacher where you're like, you don't think you should be around kids. I don't know what this situation is. He gets to the unit about Black history and he says something that I know is wrong.
Oh, no,
And
what'd you do?
it wasn't even about the 9. I raised my hand and I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. So and so. I actually believe it," because it was about the March on Washington. Again, and I was joking about this recently with my boyfriend. We saw a clip of the March on Washington and I went, "Oh, there's Uncle Jesse and there's my other and there's this person."
Hey, okay, I know who Uncle Jesse is. Can you
Yeah,
please tell
Jesse
people who
Jackson.
I was like, it's not
No,
To be
it's
clear.
not Uncle Jesse from
it's
Full
not
House.
from Full House.
No, it's
It
my
is
Uncle
not the
Jesse
same.
Jackson. So I'm like, "Oh, there's Uncle." So he said something to the effect of something that happened in March on Washington in regards to King's speech. Now, mind you, everybody and their mother knows that Mahalia Jackson is the one that told King, tell the speech about the dream, right? You can find that online. You can look it up. So I say that. I raise my hand. I was like, actually, it was a Black woman. And prior to Dr. King speaking, Dorothy Height spoke. And he was like, uh, um, you're, well, unfortunately, I think that's an unsubstantiated claim. And I said, it's not. And he was like, what's your source? I said, my uncle Jesse, my uncle Andy. At the time, John Lewis was still alive. I was like, I can ask John Lewis. I can ask Dorothy Height.
So now they think you're lying. Like,
Yeah,
so now you yeah.
So now he's like, no, no, no. You don't know more than me. I have a teaching degree. I have a PhD. All this stuff. You're very wrong. And then I'm like, well, my dad's Ernest Green, so I don't know how wrong I could be. These people are in my phone. I could call them. And he's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
no, no. My dad went as far as when my mom went to school for parent teacher conference, he rearranged his schedule to go to be like, hi, I'm Ernest Green. And this man was still like, wow, the lengths you Black folks go to make us think that you
Jesus.
all know each other and you're all the same. And the way my dad was like, what do we do?
You give
What
no,
do we
you
do
just
now?
stop.
Right, this was my top
So
card.
those are yeah. It's really those are the 3 camps. It's either the compression of time, the disbelief, the kind of like the nauseating feeling that all of a sudden history is on top of them. It is the people I have to reveal to who either take it wonderfully or feel like I've been deceiving them. And then the last camp is that's impossible. There's no way. Somebody of that caliber I don't know what people think or where they think
No.
we live or if they think Wakanda is real or whatever, but the idea that
Wakanda
they
is real. Don't take that
yes,
from us.
but the fact that they encounter myself or Sharon Robinson, who's Jackie Robinson's
Right.
daughter, or
Mhm.
so many of these kind of kids of the movement, they encounter us in the real world, and it's like, no,
No.
those people are
No.
those are mythical creatures, and it's like, no, they're real people that really exist.
I remember, and I was in like 2nd or 3rd grade, and I remember coming home from school and like talking to my mom like, "Oh, segregation." And when I realized that my grandparents went to segregated schools, I was like, "What?"
Yeah,
I was like, Nanny and Granddad, who by the way were like in their 70s, maybe even late 60s, like they weren't even old
yeah,
old.
yeah,
And I was
same,
like,
yeah.
what do you mean?
Well,
And
I mean, I went to see Sinners and have been having the hardest time explaining to my boyfriend, who is white, because I feel like,
how
again,
did we
I'm with
do this to
Alexis.
ourselves? How
I
did we
don't
do
know.
this
It's
to
very
ourselves?
funny. But I had been trying to explain to him up to this point of what Providence, Kentucky was, which is where my grandmother grew up. And because he would talk about, like, I'm from a small town in Wisconsin. I'm like, okay, we are not. I don't think you're understanding when I say this lady
Yeah.
is from a tiny southern town. And so then when Sinners happened and my mom saw it, she goes, oh, that was Providence when your grandmother grew up. So then when I took him to see it, I go, so this is the small town my grandmother grew up in, where there was a white grocery store, a Black grocery store. There was the white side of town, the Black side of town. There was this, there were resources, there were no resources. There were, trying to scrape together an education. And I was like, so this is to get you to understand on my mom's side why they are so proud that they have gone from coal miners to everybody on this side of the family has been to college. or I think about the first time he and I sat down and we were working through this book called 8 Dates by the Gottmans. And one of the dates is around money. And you talk about your grandparents. And he's talking and he's like, well, my grandmother grew up in Wisconsin, had this beautiful home, blah, blah, blah. And I go, okay, I'm about to say something that's going to ruin your whole day. I said, my granddaddy was the first person in his family born free. That's what I inherited generationally.
It's just so different. It's not an even playing field. And,
But I think to your question of what is it like being the president's daughter,
yeah.
I exist in a world in which I know the realities of where we live, right? So
Yeah.
I am existing in a space that I am watching everybody in 2020 be shocked to find out that racism is still alive and kicking.
You're like, it never left.
And I am sitting there thinking, how do I gently like with Taylor Show, how do I gently
Yeah.
let these people on air? How do I let people know that some of us have never been in the Matrix and we've never had the luxury of the Matrix, and I'm about to potentially ruin your whole day by telling
Right.
you the Matrix exists. And then you're getting the angry DMs that are like, well, why do you know this? And you're like, because my dad still has the trauma from it. Because
Right.
there are members of the nine that still won't turn their back to a door. Because I'm sitting with
Right.
these people, it's like I have godchildren that span the racial spectrum, and I'm sitting with my middle godson and youngest godson's mom, who's my sorority sister, again, was in a white sorority, all this stuff. And we're sitting there and she's like, the boys are too young for me to talk to them about all of this. And I was like, well, when do you think it'll be okay to talk to them? She's like, I don't know, like when they're adults. I said,
What?
and I said, no. So I said to her, well, what age is that? She goes, I don't know, when they're like 16. I go, okay, so my dad went to Central when he was 15. So at the age you think your boys will be safe enough to hear this, he had to overcome it. And she goes,
Like he had experienced it. He was dealing with it.
he was watching himself be hung in effigy during what should
Yeah.
be the most fun time of his life as a senior in high school. He's watching himself on the news every night,
Right.
all this stuff, right? And it's this wild thing where being the president's daughter in this respect is both the familial pressure of what it means and then the external responsibility of what it means as well.
Mhm.
That it's like, to not be excellent is to not keep the story going. I remember seeing Valerie Jarrett on my mom's least favorite person in the world. What was that man? Henry Louis Gates. My mom got beef with Henry Louis Gates. That's for another day. But I see her on there and she's talking about, and I know who Valerie Jarrett is as Valerie Jarrett. But then they start the segment talking about her dad was like one of the first Black doctors to graduate from Yale. And that was when it hit me at that age that I was like, oh God, I have to be spectacular so that people then go, where did you come from? And then I get to tell them about these two people.
Yeah.
Yep. This was a moment that actually changed my life, and it was like a year before. It was 2019. So I actually I did the big chop in 2019. For
People don't
those of you
understand that.
who don't,
That's very
yeah,
scary.
it is traumatizing. So for those who don't know, the big chop is when I'm going to say a Black woman has relaxed and chemically straightened her hair, and she makes the decision to no longer do it, and she chops it off. So I had made this decision, like every right decision I make in my life, I decide it in 4 seconds and I just
There you
do
go.
it. And I had started the process from relaxer to keratin, so I had started to grow out my
Yep.
curls. I didn't like shave my head. I'm not Holly Berry like that. I can't pull
I
that
know.
off.
Yeah.
And I remember I was out, and this is right before I cut my hair. This was like probably like 6 months prior, and I was out to drinks and oysters with my uncle Steve, who's not my uncle. And it was the end of the night, and I remember exactly where I was. I was at Ocean Prime, which is, a
Yeah.
steakhouse up here, and I picked up an empty wine glass, and the placemat came up with me, and the glass shattered. And guess what? It was the end of the night. It was not a big deal.
Yeah.
It was an accident.
Yeah.
I went home and called one of my best friends, and I was hysterically crying. And she was like, I don't understand what happened. And I just kept saying over and over again, Dreddens don't do that. Dreddens don't act like that. We don't do that. And she was like, I think it's time for us to go to bed, and I'm going to talk to you tomorrow.
Well, it's funny you say that because I jokingly say I am grateful for my mom in respect to what the name is and all this stuff because I'll be very the Greens stand 10 toes down I always say it feels like the royal family, it feels like the firm. And in a very Queen Elizabeth
Yeah.
kind of way, I'm like, you all are holding me to a standard that he doesn't hold me to. There is an
Yeah.
assumption you all are taking about this, a level of bowing and scraping. Because I joke all the time. I'm like, this name meant nothing until a 15-year-old walked to the front of a school building. We are just regular, degular Greens
Yeah.
if he never
If he
does any
never
of
did,
that.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm like, but because he made a very brave decision at 16, now this name holds weight. And I increasingly say I am grateful for my mother because she was the one that, similar to yourself, I'll say, Alexis, like had the dad who, yes, he was the president of the UAW for his particular Chrysler firm. And what people don't understand is what comes with that is every politician comes to the living room of the head of the union to try to
Yeah.
secure the votes. And so my mom had grown up with that, but my granddaddy wanted to stay normal. He wanted his kids to stay normal. So where I jokingly say, like, the Greens are very like, "Oh, well, we're dignified people from the South, if I do say so." Like, the Caudles on the other side, the Caudles and the Polks are like, "Okay, and
So
Mhm.
enjoy
see,
your life."
this is where it's interesting for me because my mother was also a link. My mother passed away, so I'm just going to keep that moving. So, she was involved in Jack and Jill.
Yep.
I like to joke that her parents own half of St. Thomas. That's not actually 100% a joke.
I know exactly because I had, in the case of my grandfather, which you wanna talk about interesting interracial couples, my grandfather, my mom's father, his mother was a very, very wealthy white woman in this teeny tiny town in Kentucky whose family owned half the stuff. Their last name was MacKenzie. So,
Oh,
we joke all the
geez.
time. Yeah, that's where I got my name from, is it was her last name. And what's funny with that is she loved her husband so much that the man she would eventually become her husband, that she lied on the census and said she was mulatto so that she could
Was
stay with
that an
him.
option? Mulatto
Uh,
was an option?
yes, that was an option in the census. So she chose that because otherwise, if she fills out that she's white in the
Right.
deep South, deep Jim Crow
Right.
South,
Yeah.
this is, I mean, because people don't have a concept. This is not Loving versus Virginia, America. This is where this is an abomination and illegal. So she just goes ahead because she's the woman, she goes ahead and lies because she's like, my hair is curly enough. If I let it be curly, I can
Yeah.
pass for a mixed race woman. So, I mean, I'm like, I don't know if Flavia McKenzie is the first person in history to reverse pass, but it's hilarious when I think about it now. But like, but that was the thing where, like, for my mom, because of what the trauma of being mixed race kids in the Jim Crow South, of having to be sent up to Chicago, all this
Right.
stuff of passing, all of that did to them. I think then my grandparents and my mom, like that side of the family, were like, "Oh yeah, this name is lovely and it opens doors, but it don't have nothing to do with her story." And so like that is a
Yeah.
beautiful thing that was afforded me. And so to your point, it's like where my mom was a link and was in Jack and Jill and all this stuff, there was still this sensibility of like, okay, this is cute and all, but like you have swim practice, you have horseback practice, you have
Yes.
these other things.
Yeah.
We expect all this from you separately. These things are great and they're lovely. And so like it was this weird thing where the Jack and Jill kids were like, "You're kind of lame and don't come to anything." And then the other kids I knew were like, "My mom is making," at this elite prep school, it's like, "My mom's making me make friends with you and I don't know why." And I'm like, "Well, it's to make your family
You're
look
like,
good. It's the
it's,
next,
yeah, it's,
it's like you're at a school where it's like politicians' kids and you're like, I know why your parents are forcing you to be friends with me so that we're in the background of the photos when, Senator McCain signed something or whatever. You're like, I know why we're here. I know what we're doing. But it's an interesting, yeah, it's been this interesting mix, and I'm eternally grateful that I had my mom who was like, I will put a fortress around her to allow her to be as normal as possible or to think this is as normal as possible. But then the problem is you grow up and you start saying things like, when people are like, "What do you want to do professionally?" And you're like, "Well, I want to be a major. I want to be a CMO of a major media brand because when I was 4 years old, Disney made a movie about my dad, and I met Michael Eisner." And people are like, "Okay, time out real quick. What was that? What was the other part of that you said? That I want to be a CMO? Nope, not that part. Go actually fast forward a little bit more. That I met Michael Eisner? Nope, it was right in between those. Oh yeah, when I was 4, Disney made a movie about my dad. What? What'd you say? Why'd you say that? Why'd you say that? Why'd you say that? I'm like, well, because they did. Well, what's it
Yeah.
called? The Ernest Green story? Oh, oh, okay. So it's not even a movie alluding to him. It's about him. Yeah. Anyway, you want to get breadsticks? No, no, we're not glossing over this. Go back to what you just said. Why? Why'd they make a movie about your dad? And you're like, oh, this is scenario number 2, the reveal. Here we go. Let me begin. It's like it's just it's a wild ride.
At what point do you feel like, and I guess for both of you, like when did, cause like you said, well, I don't know, like I grew up like this. I didn't know any different. Like,
Yeah.
and that also makes me think about, the friend and like talking to her kids about it that you mentioned. And it's like, you grew up in this. Why should this child be protected? Like you weren't protected from like knowing and having to have difficult
Yeah.
conversations, but I digress. Like, when do you think you started to have those realizations that like, oh, yeah, like the movie that they made about dad, like that is just so like synonymous with my family story, but I'm noticing people are reacting different when I say those things. And then when
Yeah.
did it sort of become something that you kind of like maybe, for lack of a better term, like kept in your back pocket, like the sorority that, or the fraternity you were talking
Yeah.
about, where you're like, do I just fucking say it or do I keep it
Yeah.
like?
I would say there've been like I jokingly say I still haven't put it together. Like we did the 60th anniversary of the Crisis at Little Rock, and they did for the first time ever a panel with all the kids, and there was like a variation of that question that was asked of like, when did you all know your parents were making history? And like literally every person on stage was like, like I remember Becky Goodlow, Terrence Roberts' daughter was like, the day I used my dad's Spingarn medal proclamation as a coloring book page, and he freaked out. She was like, and or it was like Melba Patillo's kids were like, it was the day I walked into my middle school library and saw my mom on the cover of a book, and I
Yes.
took it home and I said, Mom, why are you here? And it was like,
Wow.
oh, I gotta tell. I always tell people it's interesting because again, I say this both shady and affectionately. I have met many kids who are the high school quarterback's child who've been hearing about his glory days their entire life. Meanwhile, my dad had never acted like anything different was happening. It was so regular degular the way he sold it. It was like, oh, did a thing. You're on set for a movie and he's not like, MacKenzie, I want you to know this is really special that they're making a movie about me. It was like, I would thought the
Well,
movie was about me.
it's because he's not a narcissist. Only a
Right. Maybe that's the difference. I don't know.
Well, clearly this movie is about me. People keep fussing over me. They keep saying Green. That's my name.
That's my name.
Yeah.
You were like upset that it wasn't about
Yeah,
you. You're like, excuse me.
oh my God. And I still thought it was about me because we had a cameo. So I was like, obviously this is a movie about me. When we went to see it for the premiere, I'm like, my scene is very short. At 5, I'm like,
Right.
I should probably be in this more. I don't know
Right.
why that's really sad. I think I got cut from my film. Like it was, to be quite frank, Ashley, I did not realize who my dad was until I started writing his speeches. And that was and I started writing his speeches when I was a junior in high school. It really didn't hit me till like I was in grad school, to be quite frank. Like
Yeah.
I was a grown adult in grad school. And to be real honest, the reason it hit me in grad school, I'm a huge musical theater fan, and they made a musical about the Little Rock Nine. And I said, "Wait a second. I'm sorry. Wait,
Could you be in it? Do you
no,
get
I wish. No, I would rather. I would rather yeet myself into traffic. I would never." And it's also really funny because my dad's least favorite things are talking about himself in musical theater. So that's a
Damn.
whole other day. He was in hell from beginning to end. The minute the show started, he loudly stage whispers to my mom. I'm pretty sure the people on stage here. He goes, "Are they going to sing everything? All of it. Every thought we had is going to be a
Oh my
song. Oh,
gosh.
Jesus." And he's like,
Yeah.
"This is," and the director is like, "Mr. Green, what'd you think?" He was like, it was a thing.
It
But
was a
like
thing.
the thing that, and this is gonna sound really stupid, is there've been little glimmers to your question, Ashley, that have made me be like, "Oh, wait a second." Like the first time was I would say, like, there was a time in elementary school where I took out a history flashcard and there was a picture on it that was in my house. And I remember turning it around to this girl, Shondini, whose mother had obviously told her who I was. And she was a much older girl. She was 2 grades above me. And I was kind of like, Shondini, why is my picture from my house on here? And she knew I didn't really know. So she kind of just took the card and she was like, "Oh, that's so fun. It must be a picture that they have everywhere," and like slides it back in the deck and is like, "Next question." That was the first part. I was like, huh. Then there were moments where I'm on outdoor ed in 5th grade and I'm saying, ugh, everybody's like, "Why you look so sad?" And you're like, my uncle and my aunt are at my house right now for dinner and I'm not there. And people are like, "What?" And then later you're showing people a VHS where they're like, the sitting president came to your house for a dinner." And you're like, "Yeah, I missed it." It was like that thing where it was like, because my
Yeah.
mom was even jaded, where she was like, "You have to go spend time with your classmates."
Well, right, because it's not the thing. It's not the
Because
thing.
Yeah.
it's not the thing. And she even jokes now. She's like, I look back and I'm like, damn, I should have let her stay here for this. That's fucking crazy that I made my daughter go on outdoor ed. Or there were moments, like there's moments in college where you're saying, you're sitting in a class and up
Where
to
did
that
you
point
go
it
to
had
school again?
University of Miami for my undergrad.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank God you didn't go to an HBCU.
Well, that was the thing. But here's the thing. It wasn't even I don't want to go to an HBCU. I was a swimmer. I was a junior I was a 12-time junior Olympian.
Ooh, the jokes I'm not making about you being a
I know,
swimmer and
right?
not going to an HBCU.
No, truly. And Howard was just starting to get a good program. And in my
Mhm.
mind, I was like, I don't want to live 20 minutes from my house.
Mm,
No.
Like,
okay.
so it wasn't even in my
Yeah.
head to go talk to anybody at Spelman, to even entertain any of this, because in my head, I was like, eh. And so I go to Miami, and you're having these moments where, like, the president of the university had been in the Clinton administration with my dad and a lot of my aunties and uncles. So you're looking and you're kind of like, why would they put my dad's stamp up? Or I'm missing sorority recruitment and having to be like, and I'm finally saying, like, hey guys, I know I've never said anything to you about this, but like, my dad's getting a statue in the state capitol grounds. And then it's kind of like, wait, what? And so, like, there've been these glimmers
Right.
that make
Yeah.
me start going, like, I don't think he's like everybody else, where you're like, I don't think press shows up to everybody's dad's high school reunion. Like, I don't think any of this is normal. And the reason I say the play is it wasn't the play that caught my attention, because I rationally am like, all right, he's kind of a big deal. It was we went to see Once on This Island. So as part of the tour of the Little Rock show, at the time I was working at NBC. I was working on the World Cup. So they were like, "You are busy. You do not have time to go to all these events." They went to Hamilton, met the cast. I still want to fist fight everybody in the group for not figuring out a way to take me, all this stuff.
Wait, I was literally like, "Oh, I'm crying. Oh, I would have. Oh, I'm a theater
Yeah.
kid."
I am. I'm a huge musical theater nerd. So we go
Yeah.
see Once on This Island. I had already seen it. And it was Alex Newell, Leah Salonga, an incredible cast. But the two big ones, Alex Newell and Leah Salonga.
Mhm.
And we are at the show. Again, my dad hates musical theater, but this was the perfect show to take him to. It's 90 minutes, no intermission. It's quick, it moves fast. There's chickens on the stage. Thank God.
Go.
We can keep him entertained.
Like a kid. There's
Yeah.
chickens.
Yeah. So I'm geeked out, because if you know anything about theater, Alex Newell killed it as Osaka and would hit
Yeah.
these notes that would blow your mind, all this stuff. So this is my third time seeing the show. This night, Alex Newell hits a whistle note that I'm like, you better sing, bitch. You better do it. I mean, people are dancing so hard that when the show's over, we're watching people come out in crutches, all this stuff. Leah Salonga is up there singing so beautiful that tears are coming down her face. All this
Oh,
stuff. I'm
Wow.
looking at my dad going, this is the greatest performance I've seen them do of this show. This is amazing. All this
oh
stuff.
Let
no.
me
Oh
guess.
no.
They tell us to they tell us to
I
wait.
know.
They tell us to wait, to not leave. They're like, hey, can the group of the Little Rock Nine stay behind for a little bit? About this time, because my dad's got his little pen and he's got his little playbill, because I guess he had asked my mom some question. He's
Oh,
got Yeah, he's asked her a
he took
question
notes.
about, yeah, this will be revealed at the end of this very pointless story. But he's holding his little pen and his little Mont Blanc pen and his playbill, and he's standing there, and we're all waiting. I'm like, what are we waiting for? And everybody's like, the cast is coming out. I said, the cast is coming out. The cast is coming. We get to meet them. So I look, one of the dancers is on crutches. I'm like, oh no, you're hurt. What happened? And he goes, we knew there were legends here tonight. We had to give them a spectacular show to say thank you. I said, who's here that you had to dance that hard for? And I was 30 at this point. I said, who is here tonight that you would hurt yourself like
Did
this
they
for?
answer, or did they? I would think I would have just walked away from you.
Because again, I've not introduced myself. They don't know who we are. So I'm just, as far as he can tell, I'm some random young woman who's like, who's here that's important? And he's kind of like, okay, fucking freak, and just kind of hobbles off. So then I'm looking, my dad's walking around with his little pen as people are coming out, he's handing them the playbill and his pen. I'm like, he is so embarrassing. He sees Leah
Right.
Salonga. I'm like,
Oh,
that is my Disney princess.
literally,
Oh
my
my God.
reflection.
I'm watching my father talk to Leah Salonga. I'm mortified. I run over full speed. I'm like damn near about to knock the playbill out of his hand. I'm like, I'm so sorry, Miss Salonga. I'm so sorry. He is very embarrassing. And she's like, no, it's an honor. I'm like, an honor for what? An honor that he gets to meet you? This is a gift. Finally, Alex comes out, and they are just, I'm like, I've seen you do the show. This is my third time seeing the show. I've never heard you hit a note like that. And they say, well, we had to honor these incredible heroes. I'm like, who is here that you guys are? Is it the ancestors? The ancestors are with us,
They're
correct?
watching.
I know what you mean. Yes, we must
Sure,
perform.
sure.
Yes. They got us here. And Alex is like, now who are you? I'm like, I am MacKenzie Green. It is a pleasure to meet you. Oh, you must be Mr. Green's granddaughter? Yeah, let's go with that. Absolutely.
Whatever you
It
say.
is a pleasure. And I'm just like, and like weirdly to your question, Ashlie, like that is the thing where it's been those moments where people I admire and love, like to this idea of like, what do they say? It's always like, there's always that one person at the wedding that when everybody turns and looks at the bride, they look at the groom.
You should always look at the groom.
Yes.
Do it.
But weirdly, it was like, whether it's that analogy or hell, a Chapel Roan or I don't know, Sasha Colby, it's like I find out he's your favorite drag queen's favorite drag queen. Like
Yeah.
I'm meeting my heroes and being like Mr. Mandela, being a little kid and being like, wow, we met Nelson Mandela. And then Nelson Mandela's like, it has been an honor to meet this boy who inspired me as a child. And you're like, what?
Wow.
Or it is the thing of like Nelson Mandela being like, I told myself, if a child can be so brave, why not I? And I'm like, what? Or it's getting the email that it's like, the late great Chadwick Boseman at the time, it was like, I would love you all's blessing. I want to do a show about the 9. And I'm like, my hero's hero is this man? And it's like, and so to your question, that's the thing. It doesn't fully curl over because of his humility, but it's those glimmers where all of a sudden you are sitting there and you're like, oh my God. Oh God. And it hits you so hard that then my joke is I humble him constantly, because if I sit with truly what and who he is, I don't think I would be able to enjoy him as my dad.
Well, do you know something you said? Well, something you said that Nelson Mandela said just stuck with me, and it's something that I have used kind of in the wake of my mom's passing. People are always like, how are you doing it? How are you so strong? And it's like, did your father have a choice?
Yeah. Yes.
And the answer is he didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't have a choice. He had to be strong.
But I love, again, ruining history for people. He didn't have a choice when it started. The reason my dad went to Central is my dad had the nerve to be popular in high school. Like, and this is wild, the first time I learned this. And I learned this from his childhood best friend. My dad was popular in high school, all this stuff. My dad decides going into his senior year, he's going to run for student body president. Like, that's how he's going to put the cap on his time at Horace Mann. He's going to run for student body president and he's going to win. Well, his buddy Henry was his campaign manager. Henry was so concerned with getting the attention of a girl that he forgot to hand out any of my dad's campaign material. So the election happens, and people don't even know Ernie Green is running for student body president. So he loses in a landslide. Well, as fate would have it, he's such a teenager at this point. He hears the NAACP is coming to town because they're going to open that huge school next door to everyone. And he's such a sullen teenager that he's like, I would rather transfer schools than go back to Horace Mann as the dude that lost the student body election. And as my dad jokes all the time, he goes, I went to that info session. There were a ton of people there. He said there were maybe about 12, 15, almost maybe 20 who signed the information sheet that they were interested in attending Central. Day finally comes, night before, Faubus gets on the news, says I'm sending out the National Guard to block these kids from entering the school. That long ass list went down to 10 kids. One of the kids did not have a phone, and that is Elizabeth Eckford. So where they had come up with the plan Sunday of what they were going to do for the first day of school, she didn't know when that went on the news that the plan had changed and they were supposed to meet at Daisy Bates's house. So she goes to Central and tries to enter the school. So that image
that historic picture, I know, I just got chills. Yeah.
That everybody knows is literally born from miscommunication. So keep in mind, I said there were 10 kids the first day. That shit goes on the news. The 10th girl, her mom pulls her out of the experiment. So the next day, there are 9 kids. And that's how this happened. Is it truly what, to your thing, when people are like, how do you do this? How do you keep, I'm like, because I learned very early on that God does not call the qualified. He qualifies the called. Yep. Like it is not, these are not exceptional people that were ordained. They were not selected. There was no deep, heavy training. It was Arkansas is supposed to be progressive compared to the rest of the South. We're just going to send these kids on in there and we'll be done. Done. And the only reason my dad is the lone senior is because my grandmother Green was an educator. So he was ahead by a grade or 2 grades. So he's not even the oldest in the 9. He's one of the youngest.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And so all of a sudden it hits him. He said it took C.T. Vivian coming and basically saying when they got blocked out of school, it was basically like, Ernie, you can't not graduate. This whole experiment hangs on you. This whole Brown versus Board of Education thing, if you don't cross that stage, is a failure. Wow. And it's like, now when I think about it, I'm like, to be 15 years old and basically told the entire desegregation movement hangs on you as the first test run graduating. And not just graduating, but graduating with grades good enough to allow you to compete with these kids and go on to college. And so to your thing, when people are like, wow, how do you do it? I'm like, because unfortunately, I know firsthand that very ordinary people get called to do extraordinary things. And if you feel the calling of some sort of mission on your heart, you don't get to opt out.
You have no choice.
It will chase you down till you say yes to it. And that truly is the thing. And that's why that's why I make the joke on Taylor Strecker. I'm like, I know this is a lot for you guys to take in, that this is happening, that I am here. And I'm like, I promise, and I would go to my dad and I would show him these angry DMs and all this stuff I would get. And he'd be like, you just got to stay the course. It was never an invalidating that what was happening to me was real. It was a very this is unfortunately what comes with this. When it hits you that you could do something. And I never, I still get DMs from people being like, your activism, what I've learned from you, all this stuff. I'm like, I never in a million years wanted to pick up this part of the mantle. Ever.
It just happens. The mantle falls on you.
It falls on you. It is, I think that's why I'm so deeply obsessed with Black Panther, is because it is that thing of you don't get a choice.
You don't get a choice.
Bath identifies the bloodline that will carry on this mantle, and you got no other choice but to just eat that damn heart-shaped herb and keep it pushing.
MacKenzie, that is a perfect place to tie this up. It's like you speak in sound bites, and I know you do because you work in social. I just want to say thank you so much.
Thank you for
I
having me.
was obsessed with this conversation. I can also think about 4,000 other things I want to talk to you about, one of which being social media, mental health, and the current political climate. So I'm going to DM you later, and now you really know who I am.
Yeah, no, we'll have to talk about this. And then, I will say to you the same thing every listener who has ever had me on their podcast has learned, which is sorry, not sorry, but I will probably be forcing myself on you guys' show quite frequently. My friend.
I have a
Would be
million
amazing.
things I would love to talk to you about. You have been, they say you're not supposed to meet your idols, but
Meet your hero.
MacKenzie, I'm going to say something and it's really corny, and I'm going to try not to cry because I'm really emotional. I was in an outpatient program during COVID, and I used to watch your stories and follow your content, and you were a voice that I didn't know I needed at a time when I really needed it. So I just want to say thank you. You
You're
never
welcome.
know. You never know where
I'm
you
going to
make a
try not
difference.
to dwell on what you said because I'm an emotional Cancer. I'm PMSing.
I'm a Cancer moon.
I just had
I'm
therapy.
also bleeding.
Yeah, I literally had therapy a few hours ago. So I'm like, don't cry. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't
Your
do it.
emotions
We're gonna wrap it. Thank you so much, MacKenzie.
Thank you, MacKenzie.
Have a great day.
Thank you so much.